Hello everyone, so as you all know, Sony just had their 2013 Gamescom press conference a few hours ago. Here's my little wrap-up video to cover the whole event. We're going to talk about every announcement that was there, and, obviously I'm going to give my impressions on the event, how I think they did, and just, what this means for the future in PS4, PS Vita, PS3, all that good stuff. So we're going to talk about it right now. So as always, a big conference. Sony likes to spend a lot of time on stage. They like to, and the thing about Sony is they like to knock out stuff really quick. They'll show something, boom, next thing. Show something, boom, next thing. And traditionally, they always show a lot of things that we've already seen before. They'll show trailers for games that we already know about, and they'll talk about things that we already know about. They did a little bit of that here, but they did show a lot of new stuff. So kicking off the press conference, which I kind of semi-predicted in last week's episode of Let's Talk PlayStation, they showed off the Ps4 User Interface. I thought we should see more of this because we haven't seen a whole lot of it. We saw some of that here. Kicked off the conference, Shuhei Yoshida sitting down in a chair, going through the PS4 UI. Showed a couple of things that were in there. It kind of shows that the XMB is still kind of in the PS4 UI. It's in a sort of in the top section of the thing, so you can navigate through games, your notifications, your friends list, and all that. But he showed, he was going through the Killzone menu, the infamous Second Son menu I think he looked at, and then he looked at a live stream, then he jumped into the game, and it was very instantaneous. It was very fast, much like we were expecting, and that looks great. I mean, I'm actually really liking the UI so far. I like how fast and responsive it is. I like that the XMB is sort of still living inside of it because I love the XMB on PS3, so I'm actually thoroughly impressed with the UI. I really like it a lot. But moving on, traditionally they're going to talk about the systems that are already released and then move on to PS4 for the end. So they did talk about PS3, showed off a Gran Turismo 6 trailer. That was kind of long, drawn out. It's coming out December 6th. That's good news there. LBP Hub was announced. This is a free-to-play Little Big Planet game coming to the PlayStation 3. Now, right off the bat, free-to-play, you're like, okay, well, that's not very cool. Free-to-play has certainly not been sitting well with gamers nowadays, but a few details are pouring out about now that the conference is over. You have full access to the creation mode, and there's 16 some odd games that were from the PS3 games that are in there, and I guess, of course, free-to-play, there's microtransactions left and right for possibly costumes, or maybe sticker packs. We're not, totally sure on that just yet. I'm a huge Little Big Planet fan, so for me this kind of was, this did kind of leave a sour taste in my mouth. But at the same time, I look at LBP Hub and I think, okay, well this isn't Little Big Planet 3. This isn't a full-on sort of movement to Little Big Planet. So I guess what I'm saying is, I guess LBP Hub kind of leaves sort of that open area for a real full-on sequel to Little Big Planet that could possibly be on the PS4 at a later date. Which I certainly hope so, but for now, LBP Hub seems to be staying. It's going to be here. It's going to be for PS3, and this is going to be sort of a good revenue stream for Sony because they do want to make money. But I guess it's there to sort of just appease people. But moving on, going into PS Vita, they announced 3 mega packs. 3 mega pack PS Vita bundles for Europe territories. This comes with a bunch of Vita games and 8 gigabyte memory stick. Just sort of a nice bundled sort of value into the system if you want to buy those. But big announcement: Borderlands 2 was announced for Vita. This is awesome. We kind of already we were kind of already hinted at this before on Twitter. They were showing on Twitter there was a picture a long time ago of Gearbox and all that with Vitas, and it was kind of hinted that Borderlands would come. But now it's official. It's coming 2014. That's great. If it's full on Borderlands 2 on Vita, if there's no sacrifices made whatsoever, right there, that's an awesome AAA title. I'm sure that will definitely please some people. Then they announced a few Vita indie titles like Starbound, Fez, Velocity x2 or 2X. That's from Future Lab. PS Vita Price Cuts. We got a PlayStation Vita Price Cut, which the system does need, and the memory cards are also being dropped as well. But this is definitely good. Sony needed to do this. It worked in Japan with the currency exchange rate and all that crap. That's awesome. This is definitely this should stimulate Vita sales, and we've got games coming. Whether you like, no matter how many AAA titles you think aren't coming to the system, games are regularly releasing on the system, and that's good news. Murasaki Baby for Vita was announced. This is actually the OVO Sonico partnership that we were talking about a long time ago on Let's Talk PlayStation. Sony did a partnership with this small little startup, and Murasaki Baby is coming, and it looks really awesome. Actually, I was thoroughly impressed by this one. The trailer, it just looks. I love how gritty and dark it is, and it uses touch controls and all that. Some people might want to sour on that or whatever, but I'm always optimistic when it comes to games, and it looks really awesome. I'm looking forward to that one. Big Fest was announced for PS Vita. Kind of a random title out of nowhere, but free to play. So I know people again probably aren't happy about that. I'm not really big on free to play either. Obviously, it's not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination, but Big Fest looks kind of cool. It's like a tycoon game or a sim game, but basically you're a music promoter and you're I don't know, making music festivals or some shit, promoting promoting music artists. It's like, you can see the trail, you can see the kind of thing that they're going for, but again, interesting title. So then Mark Cerny took the stage. He didn't really say a whole lot, just kind of talking about how great PS4 is and all that, how it's the most powerful gaming console ever made. Good stuff there, whatever. Shahid Kamal Ahmad took the stage. It's nice that he took the stage. I was actually pleasantly surprised that he took the stage, because this man has been bringing a crap load of PlayStation titles onto PlayStation. Obviously, that's what his job is, to bring outside developers onto PlayStation, get them hooked up, get them development kits, get them working with PlayStation, get their games running on PlayStation, and get them ultimately released. Which is why the rest of this conference clearly demonstrates what Shahid's been up to, which is, oh my god, so many games are coming to these platforms. So good lord, I had to write these. They announced Rogue Legacy, Binding of Isaac Rebirth, N++, Volumes, Guns of Icarus Online, Wasteland, Kings, Hotline Miami 2 Wrong Number. That's actually a pretty big one. These are all going to be console or Vita / whatever debuts. So these are going to be coming to PlayStation platforms first. Gotta wake the PS3 up because he went to sleep. A lot of games. A lot of games. Now, of course, a lot of people are very underwhelmed by this presentation so far and the conference as a whole, because it's a lot of indie stuff. But we've been hearing about this for how many months now? And even Microsoft's coming in, stepping in to help with indies and all that. A lot of indie love. It's almost getting to the point where people are really starting to sour on indie games, which to me is, it's a little depressing. Like, why are you going to be that upset about indie games? Like, yes, absolutely, I want AAA games, but the fact of the matter is AAA games take so much gosh darn money to make and produce and release, and the fact of the matter is we only get them every couple of months, AAA games and stuff like that. So I don't know. If the indie support's good. I want to see more indie support. Was there a lot of it here at this conference? Yeah, there was a lot of indie games. There's so many. They announced at least over 20, right? And I think Michael Denny also said after the conference that there's over 50 debuting exclusively on PlayStation first or being exclusive in some form. Now here's the one big thing I kind of took away from this conference. After all these indie announcements, all these games, like so many games, game announcements, one thing I took away from it before they even said this is, wow, they just announced all these games, console debuts, PlayStation exclusives. Not a single one of these are from like Sony's first-party studios. And this is exactly when Sony announced, hey, all of our studios are working on PS4 titles, which we already knew about. So they're telling us something we already knew about. But here's the thing. They didn't show any of that here. So it's the fact that we've got 12, 14 some odd PlayStation developers that are going to be exclusive to PlayStation no matter what. And it's the fact that we still don't know what they're doing. We just got all these game announcements. Granted, if you want to be piss poor about them being indie or not, all these game announcements, and we still don't know what Sony's up to. Honestly, there were so many indie announcements. I probably I'm missing some of these on what I wrote down, but I mean, yeah, a lot of indie games. Good. I like them. I don't know if you do. You know, if you want to be mad about it, go ahead. But, you know, games are games, and I always like to play them. But that's really what I took away from this. Like, wow, we still don't know what Sony's developers are doing. Which also kind of leads me to believe that what Sony's trying to do here is they're going for the long term. They're going for the future. They're trying to spread out these releases, right? One thing that Microsoft always had a problem with was they released a bunch of games day one, and then you didn't see a whole bunch of anything. And then you saw maybe the one or two Gears of War, Halo, and all that. Or that's something that Vita struggled with. We had a lot of great stuff right off the bat, but then we didn't see a whole bunch of anything until like Killzone and Tearaway and now Borderlands 2 and all that. I mean, 14 studios, that's a lot. They're not going to show you 14 AAA games for day one on PS4, or even within the first year of PlayStation 4. I guarantee you these 14 titles, you know, all these AAA games that Sony's developers are working on are going to be spread out throughout the years, which also lends to believe that these games are going to be probably even super huge and super awesome, super great, right? Because how many years are these developers working on these games? I mean, these things do take time, and surely we're still going to see them. We know they exist, right? People want to, you know, be a little underwhelmed by this conference, and I guess there's some truth to that if you really, you know, if indie is not legitimately your thing. You just don't want those small-scale games. That's totally cool. But those games are there. Those AAA titles are there. We just haven't seen them yet, which really begs the question of when we're going to see them. Tokyo Game Show would be the last big major sort of place to see any sort of AAA games, and even if we don't see it then, it's the fact that there's next year's E3, there's the E3 but beyond that, because we know Sony owns these developers. They're working on games. You know, it's just like, it does. It sucks that we don't get to see them just yet. We don't know what they're doing just yet. But you know, they're there, and there's still tons of games that were announced. There's got to be something out there that you're going to be enjoying, right? But moving on from that sort of topic, we go into a new game announcement. Everybody's gone to the Rapture. We're still a couple hours after the conference, so I'm sure by the time I upload this, some of these details will be cleared up. And some things that I'm saying are going to be irrelevant because we don't know about the exclusivity of all these games just yet. Some of these are console debuts, some of these are second party, some of these are third party, some of these are, none of them are first party, but it's kind of hard to clear up that air of what's exclusive and what's not right now, and what's a console debut, what's not, because there's so many games I just can't figure out which ones are which. But it looks cool. It's very piqued my interest, definitely. But I wish we could have seen more of it. We didn't really see a whole lot, just a small trailer. And then Tequila Works showed off Rhyme. I hope I'm saying that right. This looked gorgeous. Holy crap! Now you look at the gameplay and you're instantly thinking, "Oh my god, that's Ico. This looks like a spiritual successor to Ico." Whatever it is, it's gorgeous. This game looks beautiful. I'm totally sold on that game already. Wow! Like I love just. And you guys know that's me, right? I'm that kind of person that likes stories, likes these games that are going for something different, going for something that's away from the norm. And that right there, just I'm like, oh yes, show me that. In fact, a majority of the games shown at this conference were not the norm, which if there's so many of them not being the norm, they start to become the norm, which I'm totally okay with. So on LTPS, we also talked about Helldivers. We saw what that was. PS4, PS3, and Vita cross-platform game. You know. Not necessarily a huge AAA title like we've been talking about already, but it's a new game. You know, we're going to take a look at it. You know, when it comes out, we'll buy it, play it, see how it is, and new game. The next game announcement was awesome. Wrestle Gun. This is from Housemarque. God, pronunciation. The guys who made Super Stardust HD. You know I'm a huge fan of Super Stardust HD. This game looked awesome. My God, like, it's the spiritual successor to Super Stardust. I'm on board already. You know, arcade shooter. Just, I'm totally into that. Like, give me more. Looks great. This one just came totally out of left field. Game announcement. Shadow of the Beast, PS4. This game was originally released on, God, Lord, what was it released on? Famicom? Did it come out on NES? ZX Spectrum? Oh my Lord, this is an old one. It's coming to PS4. Reimagined, basically. Remade. Like I said, totally out of left field. This is also apparently a PS4 exclusive. We don't know to what extent just yet, unless those details were cleared up by the time this video came out. But that was announced and looked awesome. I mean, without a doubt. Like I said, I'm always optimistic when we see game announcements. So you know, whatever I see, it always piques my interest because I do want to jump in and see it. Moving on from that, they showed Playroom, which we knew about, so we can just get past this. They showed Playroom. It's that camera app on PS4 that's going to be pre-installed in every system. They said it at the conference. We already knew that. Right now, we're getting into territory that we've already seen before. Infamous Second Son trailer, Killzone Shadowfall trailer. We already saw this stuff. Granted, these are new trailers, but like these are games we know about. They also announced Twitch is coming to PS4, so that was kind of a huge Xbox One announcement. Twitch, you know, the streaming service and all that. People really like Twitch. Great that it's coming to PS4, and of course, it has integration of, you know, the whole PS4 sharing feature and all that. Good stuff there. 20 new video services coming to PS4, so of course this is, like we were talking about last week, Sony can totally go for that casual audience, show people, look, this is a machine that can do all sorts of stuff, not just games, multimedia services. We've got all sorts of apps coming in, and that's fine. Like I said, I use my PS3 as a media hub. I would like my PS4 to be also. One thing they touched on, music in the background. They did say music will be playable in the background. You know, they didn't say if that was mandatory support or if the PS4 will just do this for us or what have you, but they also kind of pushed Sony's Music Unlimited, Sony Music Unlimited service, how you can use that in the background and all that. You know, Sony's going to always try to upsell their own services, but of course I couldn't give a rat's ass about Sony Music Unlimited, so that's not really me. This is an interesting one. I really like that they did this. You know, granted it doesn't, you know, have anything to do with me, but Sony's working with ISPs, internet service providers in, you know, around locations of Europe and all that to try and get higher broadband speeds and basically dedicate some of those speeds to gaming and PS4. Like, cool. Like, that's totally awesome that they're kind of looking out for people like that. I mean, again, trying to sell you on that. They're trying to show people that, you know, PlayStation has this Europe dominance, and they're going to continue to strive for that, and they're going to try to appease consumers. Free 14-day trial for all PS4 buyers. Cool. I mean, if you're going to require PlayStation Plus, at least let people know, give everyone a little bit of a taste of it that buys a PS4. You know, that's fine there. And of course, even if you don't get PS Plus, there's still all those MMOs that don't require PlayStation Plus, but it's nice that they're giving you that option to try it. So then they showed some Assassin's Creed 4. They showed some remote play. That's great, right? So we were always hoping that Sony's going to deliver on this promise of most PS4 games being remote playable. We saw it there. Seemed like there was no latency. What they didn't show was the actual transition from PlayStation 4 to Vita remote play. Like, they didn't show how that happens, if you connect the app or if you just turn it on or what have you. They didn't show that. So that I'm kind of like, why didn't you show that? But they did show remote play working. Vita was playing Assassin's Creed 4, so there you go. Again, kind of cool. And like I said, if they can get this right, if they can get no latency between the presses and it running on Vita, if they can get that to work, and they deliver on the promise of most PS4 games being on remote playable on Vita, that to me is a huge thing. Like, I don't think it would stimulate Vita sales. I just highly doubt that's sort of a thing that people would look at Vita and go, okay, I'm going to get a Vita because of that. But it's awesome, right? I mean, that's totally my thing. Like, every PS4 game, most of them, the next generation Grand Theft Auto, the next generation Skyrim or Elder Scrolls, all that stuff, right? Playable on Vita, that's awesome. The moment a lot of people have been waiting for, Minecraft is finally coming to PlayStation. Yes, it's coming to PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, and PlayStation Vita. It's coming. There you go. The announcement seemed a little underwhelming in the during the actual conference. They had guys with creeper heads coming out, and people didn't really give a shit about that. But I'm actually a huge Minecraft fan. I play it on my Xbox all the time, so I'm totally glad that I can finally play it on my preferred platform, and I love the fact that it's on Vita. Oh my god, on PlayStation Vita, dude, Minecraft Twin Sticks, no one wants to play that Pocket Edition on iOS and Android. No, get that out of here, man. I want to play it on Vita, so that's awesome. Like I said, I'm a Minecraft fan, totally proud that I can finally play it on PlayStation. That one we were long overdue for. Then they showed a trailer for War Thunder. PS3, we got price cuts across the board for our 12GB model. 12GB model we already knew was coming to North America for $200. That's good. And the 12GB model in Europe and all that got price cut as well. So $200, like, good. Nice to have a small capacity PS3 out there. Hard drives are cheap if you want to just get it to play a few things or use it for video services. It's nice that there's an entry option for PS3 that is affordable. This one was really interesting. A lot of third parties are participating in Sony's new program for PS3 to PS4 transition. So if you perhaps buy Battlefield 4 or Call of Duty Ghosts on PlayStation 3 at full price, you can get a discount on the PS4 version digitally, which is good, right? If you're not ready for that transition, you want to play some of these games on PS3, like, go ahead and do that, buy them, and then you can have an easier point of entry for PS4. I think that's a pretty good service that they kind of are putting it out there, because they're really pushing that PS3 is not dead. Like, this is not a system to just throw away. We still got all these exclusives coming out. We just announced another one, LBP Hub, and you can still keep buying it. If you're not ready for that next gen jump, go ahead and keep playing PS3, and when you're ready for it, there's a nice sort of easy transition to it. This one had to be noted. Another stab at Microsoft. Sony has been very aggressive at making stabs at Microsoft, which they never usually did. Traditionally, back in the PS1 era, they would make Nintendo stabs and all that. But when they sort of had real dominance, they weren't too keen on doing stuff like that. This generation, they're really doing it left and right. They said Andrew House was on stage, and he basically said, unlike the competitors that are changing their policies and shifting and all that, PlayStation is staying consistent. And, they're confident about it. They're being cocky about it. Some people, of course, fanboys and all that, want to remark it off as being childish and all that. And I am kind of under the banner that if your product's good, you don't have to talk about the competition or slam them or anything like that. I kind of do believe in that notion. But, this is, the competition, you're going to expect things like this, and it's certainly going to promote good competition because Microsoft's been playing catch-up this whole time, and now they're finally in a better position. And last but not least, we got some details on the PS4's launch. PS4 will be launching in 32 countries, which is vastly larger than the 13 countries that Xbox One's going to be launching in. They've got the upper hand there. They've, of course, got the price advantage like they actually noted in the conference. And November 15th for North America, November 29th for Europe. And that is a wrap for the conference. Now, I thought that was actually a very strong showing. They showed tons of games. Granted, if you didn't like them or not, a lot of games. And, it goes into, like, the whole exclusive thing, like, a lot of these games are going to be coming to other platforms. That's totally true, and that does take a lot of the weight to how heavy these announcements were. But, at the end of the day, I look at the thing from a consumer standpoint. I like to play video games, and they announced a bunch of them, so I'm happy about that. A lot of Vita support. Not necessarily, again, people would want to see a lot more AAA titles coming to Vita. We got a lot of announcements for indies on Vita and, Vita Price Cut. That's great. You did get Borderlands 2. That's awesome, though. Borderlands 2. I'll play Borderlands 2. I thought there was a lot of healthy Vita announcements. They certainly weren't Vita aggressive, I'd say, but healthy Vita announcements. Now, the memory card price cuts are good, but they actually did announce the prices on those too, and they're not drastically cut like you might think they are. Like a 32 gigabyte card is now going to be $80 instead of $100. Not necessarily as aggressive as we'd like it to be. There was good Vita announcements, but it's not like that aggressive push. But $200, a price cut for the Vita, that's definitely going to stimulate sales. It's just a matter of how much it's going to do it, which I don't think would be too much. I just don't, it just goes into the market that Vita's competing in against smartphones and all that. I just don't think many Vitas are going to be sold throughout its life. But a good price cut and some game announcements are definitely going to stimulate sales a little bit. Of course, we got to look forward with PS4. We got release date announcements and all that. That's great news. We got some new services announced for the system, and we got a lot of games making their console debut. Granted, these aren't AAA titles, but they're games. And, goes back to the notion we were talking about earlier. It's like we don't know what Sony Studios are doing, so we got to look out for those because they do exist. A lot of games coming out for all 3 platforms, or just 2 platforms, or just 1 platform, but all these games coming out for all these platforms, and then PlayStation Plus integration, and remote play functionality, and a transition from PS3 to PS4. They're kind of just really investing you into that ecosystem. I think that's one thing that this conference really spoke for. To sort of wrap up the conferences, because Gamescom is not over yet, we got a whole bunch of announcements still coming that we'll cover on Let's Talk PlayStation this Friday, which will still go up. We'll still cover up some details that maybe weren't right in this video, or that trickle out throughout the week. But I think they had a strong showing. They had a really strong showing. They showed tons of video games. That's what this industry's about. They showed price cuts. They showed more affordable, entry points for people in terms of buying new systems or buying games and getting ready for a next gen system. I think it was a strong showing. I don't think it was an outstanding showing. It's not like they said Uncharted 4 and then boom, here's what Sony Santa Monica's doing, and boom, here's this, here's that. But, they threw a lot at you. Of course, as we get closer and closer to PS4 launch, we still got TGS to look forward to. And of course, the system actually being in our hands and looking forward to the 4, 5, 6, 7 years, however long it's on the market, and however many, games come out for it, That's kind of the whole thing. You kind of expect so much up front, but really, console, these are really impressive console launches this time around. I don't know about you, but PS1, PS2, PS3, even Vita, which had a really good launch, are not having this strong of a launch as what PS4 and even X1 is having. Because you've got these great, huge AAA third-party games coming out day one, Call of Duty, even Minecraft, Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and then you've got the PS4 exclusives, Killzone, Knack. These are big games. How many of these games do you expect to buy, really? If you really think about it, if you want to get all the AAA games coming out on PS4, like the ones I just named, you're spending well over $300 in games alone. And, there's still the free-to-play ones that are coming out the day PS4 launches, and there's still indie titles if you so choose to check out some of those, because they are definitely worth checking out. So that concludes my little Gamescom wrap-up, but of course it's not over. Gamescom's still going on, so I'll see you guys this Friday. We'll do Let's Talk PlayStation still. We'll cover up some details that came out over the next few days, and we'll clear up some details that maybe weren't resolved here, and we'll talk some PlayStation.